Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Sin Dragons and Key Heroes event that has returned to North America. So, the Sin Dragons Key Heroes, or SDKH, if you see that abbreviation anywhere, is a unique event in the sense that it features event cards alongside the regular Rare Machine cards. And as a whole, I feel like this is one of the absolute worst designed Rare Machines in the game, because there is no monster exchange. Half of the rolls are not even the event cards, which they are like advertising and featuring, and the other half is going to be basically first evolution Pantheon cards, which you probably have many duplicates of, or take so many resources to evolve, and you might just roll another one in the future from a Super Godfest that's already pre-evolved for yourself. There are a couple of like X Godfest exclusives sprinkled in, but like the odds of you rolling something of actual value in this event is terribly low, because only the 7-star cards and a couple of the 6-star cards are actually meaningful. And due to the fact that the rolling rates are so poorly skewed, you have a 6% chance for any of the 7 stars, 18% for any 6-star, but not all the 6 stars are great. So if you really think about it, you only got a very small chance of rolling something of value. And because of this, I feel like that is not a good event to roll in, especially if you have rolled in the past. On the other hand, all players will be receiving 30 free rolls throughout the course of this event, which in turn means you may not actually need to roll here. You can instead just leech off of the free rolls. I'll do my free rolls and upload them to YouTube at some point in a separate video, but aside from having weapon assist for all the cards and some value at the top rarity, there's not much else for this event because there is no monster exchange. We have terrible rolling rates. Most of the cards have not aged well, especially the bottom rarity. They just really don't do much at this point in time. You can definitely skip this event, especially if you rolled before. And like I mentioned, the 5-star cards have definitely lost their edge. So, as I mentioned already, the top rarity cards are definitely populating the best stuff. Like, this is where the good stuff is, quote unquote, but the odds of you rolling those good stuff are not so great because bottom rarity is kind of sad. So this video won't be going over every single card, only the truly notable cards that I want to mention because my wrists are still hurting. I finished typing it up. I'm using ice packs now while I narrate. So the only new card in this event is Mia, and she is a cat of some kind. And like every other 7-star card in this event, all of them feature 3 skill boosts and 1 skill bind resist in their base form. They all feature that. And then once she transforms, oh, such a spicy transformation after 27 turns. Her 27 turns are a bit more justifiable. The other cards in this event, their 27 turns really just feel too long. But once she does transform, you have 3 Team Health Awakenings, an L Shield, an L Unlock, skill bind resist, double 10 combo. Double 10 combo is just the best offensive awakening spread you can have when not having VDP because it's such an efficient personal damage multiplier. It's 5 times each, so 25 times personal damage with 2 awakenings. If a card has 4/7 combos, so double the awakening slots taken, they only have 16 times damage. Set 10 combo is just infinitely superior. And because their leader skill provides bonus combo, they can hit this 10 combo on a regular basis. So their active skill generates 5 light and 5 hard orbs. Truly magical. You always have a follow-up attack and you have 5 light orbs. So that means you need to, well, for their leader skill, they always have 50% damage reduction, regardless of what you do. But that may not be enough for current endgame content. Just 50% damage, well, 75% damage reduction for 2 leaders is probably not enough. But you gain bonus damage and RCV when you match 8 or more combos, which is doable because you get +4 with dual leaders. And then more attack multiplier and further damage reduction when matching light and heal. You're always going to match light and heal because of their active skill. And their leader skill also gives the bonus combos of matching light and heal. So as long as you have their active skill ready, so you should fully SDR her, you are going to be able to dish out spectacular amounts of damage for your team. You're also going to have massive amounts of damage reduction and the ability to heal back to full health every single time due to the monstrous RCV component. As a whole, Mia is one of the strongest leaders in the game, but a couple of notable drawbacks I want to mention is that there is no VDP, so that means you have to rely on other cards to solve those spawns for you. It's a hard to roll card. It's a 1% chance in a terrible event. Not good odds overall. And Light is technically missing several key and powerful cards that JP has. This is definitely most notable for Academy Kyo. I'm not 100% sure if this applies to Mia as greatly because Mia at least has a much better self-systemable ability. So it just kind of lowers the need to have outrageously strong subs because the leaders bring so much already. And then another thing to keep in mind is that the next wave of power creep is going to come for like the fairies, flowers, I forget the exact name, but one of those But that is coming to North America in the near future. I don't know the exact date, but reasonably soon. And that event is just going to be better to roll in because A, it's a debut event. Debut events tend to release cards at the height of their power. More likely that the bottom rarity cards are much stronger by comparison. But with that being said, if you do acquire her, wow, you must have a tremendously fun time. I would love to roll one myself and just see what can happen. Next is Gillian, and Gillian was once top of the meta in terms of leadership potential, but he has fallen down over time because he did receive a buff, but his buff didn't address his weaknesses. So he has a 27 instead of 30 turn transformation time. And as I mentioned, for anyone but Mia, I feel like 27 turns is still too long. Even Mia is quite long at 27 turns when you really think about it. But with that being said, Gillian is definitely much more painful because he doesn't provide as much. Their active skill post-transform is an RCV and a movement time buff and a tri-elemental board of fire, hearts, and jammers. Powerful active skill overall. You definitely could incorporate one onto a given team, but as dual leaders, I think it's going to be painful because they don't have VDP and they're just less efficient. Remember how I said Mia is efficient with her awakenings? Double 10 is 25 times. Gillian is quad 7 combo with a useless guard break. So quad 7 combo is 16 times. So with 5 awakenings, because I'm counting guard break because it's useless, he has significantly less personal damage, and he wastes many more awakening slots. Mia gives you 3 team healths instead of excessively useless offensive awakenings. Significantly stronger overall by comparison. Like, it's just night and day in terms of how strong these cards are. And if you look at his kit overall, the lack of VDP is definitely hindering, but his leader skill, it looks great on paper until you look a little deeper. You do have flat HP, which is nice, and you do have 35% damage reduction per leader when you are above 50% health. If you're below 50% health, you lose your damage reduction component here. You become significantly more fragile, so multi-hits are definitely a problem. You do get bonus, you do have a nice attack multiplier when you hit 5 or more combos, and you get damage reduction when you match 3 plus fire combos. So matching 3 plus fire combos is difficult. On a 6x5 board, that's going to be challenging to have. And it kind of goes against what Gillian was using beforehand. Like, Gillian teams would oftentimes row and abuse combo orbs in order to hit their 7 combos to trigger all their happiness. This is going to change and alter that playstyle, maybe not necessarily for the better. And you could argue maybe I could use 7x6 and then swap someone in to take advantage of the bigger board, which in turn will make it easier. But then again, you can't use Gillian as the swap, and there are not many other good non-transforming swappable fire leaders, so it's just leaving him in an awkward place. I still cleared non-alt Shura 2. I cleared regular Shura 2 the day it came out with Gillian, so you obviously can still clear that. Probably could squeeze through alt Shura 2, but it's just going to be so much more painful compared to other options that you have available. So it's awkward. Like, multi-hits are a problem. Your effective health is much lower than you think. You don't have an RCV multiplier either. You have no bonus combos. You have no auto follow attack. You're just missing so many things, and it just makes Gillian a little bit of a sad card. And of course I rolled 2 of them, so it's just a little sadder, but maybe you could argue that their weapon assist brings some value. I'll probably convert 1 to a weapon assist, because the weapon assist provides you with a skill boost and 2 team health. Never a bad thing, and a full cleric style active skill. You fully clear all bind and woken binds, unable to match orb effects, and you get a board of fire, light, and jammer orbs. Not the best orb changer necessarily, but hey, you got a full cleric active skill. It still works for mono fire teams, and if you have a way to interact positively with the jammers, you can take them away. But even so, team health, skill boost, never a bad thing. It's just not exceptional at this point in time. Menuet, or the Penguin, has received a bonkers weapon assist. Like, it's just their main appeal. I feel like if I had one, I would convert to a weapon assist, and it's hard not to justify, especially if you don't have a boar helmet, because it gives you a skill boost, 1 team health, 2 team RCVs, so added bulk, significant healing bonus. Great stuff. Just that alone is meaningful, but it also comes with an outrageously wonderful active skill. For 2 turns, you get to bypass damage, attribute, and void mechanics. So damage absorb, color absorb, and the gray shield, the voiding damage aspect. You counter all of those 3 things for 2 turns. Unbelievably strong. You're going to need at least one of those components in any given dungeon, so it's just a beautiful thing to have on a given team. And yes, it does have overlap with Boar Helmet, but Boar Helmet is one of the best weapon assists in the game, and that's fine. Boar Helmet gives more health, but Menuet gives RCV. So depending on the type of team you are utilizing, it may be more important to have one or the other. For instance, Royal Oak, Nautilus teams, they need RCV more than health. So this weapon assist makes much more sense. incredibly strong to have. If I had one, I'd be so happy, and I would happily make it and just enjoy the wondrous powers it does convey. Amula, I feel like she's a bit of an awkward card. Like as a rainbow leader, rainbow leaders are just underwhelming. Like, monocolor is supreme and superior, just in all ways, shapes, and forms. You can concentrate damage better, easier to activate. You also need all 5 colors, so it's much less reliable. Yes, you can argue that the spinners she does make can help, and you could say maybe I could use them on a team kind of like Mikage in terms of abusing spinners for orbs, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a bit awkward overall. In terms of the weapon assist, that's the card I want to highlight a bit more, notably because it does provide some significant and unique value. It gives you a single skill boost and 2 seconds of orb movement time. And then the active skill is a 5-turn cooldown that provides bonus orb movement time, doubling your movement time actually, the ability to unlock all orbs, and then creating a single spinner for 1 turn. So, you can counter all spinners, and in theory, you can use the spinners to fish out other orbs, and the bonus movement time makes this quite easy to achieve. It is unique. It's an incredibly fast way to counter spinners with a 5-turn cooldown. This is it's unusual. Like, we don't have many options that can do this as well. But at the same time, I feel like it's incredibly luxurious, and I think it might be challenging to squeeze it in onto, like, say, your SR2 or 3 teams. It may be difficult to work this in because it doesn't provide resist. It only really provides that skill boost. There's a good chance you're going to have orb movement time buffs somewhere else on your given team, but at the same time, maybe I'm undervaluing this card. Maybe it's going to prove to be super valuable, but it is unique, and I don't have one, so it's just hard for me to experiment and test. Feral received, I'd say, the best buff for the original 5 key heroes because, A, they got the cooldown reduction to transform, but it's their leader skill that has been greatly bolstered. But before I talk about their leader skill, let's look at their kit. They have double 7, double VDP, double super follow-up attack. So if you match the various patterns, they can have outrageously high personal damage. But if they don't match the 3x3 boxes for VDP or super follow-up attack, they do have less ideal personal damage. Their active skill provides you with a single turn of 3 times attack bonus and changing the bottom row to light and then locking all light orbs. So that does provide a soft counter to spinners because your light orbs are locked. It also gives you a 3 times attack buff on a 3-turn cooldown, which means we can make a system. And systems are beautiful because with a feral system, you have one of these active skills every single turn. You need to have 2 to own. You have 1 as a leader, 1 as a sub, 1 as a friend. And with all of this pairing, you will have permanent uptime on your attack buff. So their leader skill multipliers we can adjust to 1200 for 57.75% damage reduction and plus 4 combos. So looking at the leader skill, you ignore poison damage. That is wonderful. You can just completely ignore, say, Oku and SR2. You're just like, whatever, you poison me, I don't even care. That is nice to have. You also have an unconditional attack, HP, and RCV multiplier for light cards. Your 400 times attack and then basically 1200 with the attack buff always happens, regardless of what you match. Your RCV always exists. You don't have to match any particular pattern, so stalling definitely can work in a sense, but at the same time, stalling doesn't work because you can't really stall because you always do your full attack multiplier for just existing. But when you match 6 or more connected light orbs, say a row or a VDP, you get plus 4 combos with dual leaders and the 57.75% damage reduction. They are now quite a durable leader. They've got essentially 3 times effective health per leader, which is quite magical. They're quite bulky, and they can always heal up with relative ease. You just need to be mindful of the fact that system-based teams have less active skill diversity. They don't have auto follow-up attack, which means they might overwrite the heart orbs if you use their active skill and you don't have follow-up attack, which could be problematic. So you just need to be mindful of those couple of facts. So just be aware that resolve spawns could be a little bit more problematic, but at the same time, this is a wonderfully strong leader, and I don't really foresee them having too many issues smashing through like Shura 2 and below because of how well put together they are as a whole. But at the same time, they only truly shine with their system, but at the same time, you can say, well, I can use them as a great mono-light sub. It's a reliable orb changer with an attack buff on a 3-turn cooldown. They're basically Grandis with a shorter transforming time. For their weapon assist, I just wanted to look at it because it's unusual in the sense of what it does. And it's also new, I guess, because it gives you a combo orb, a super follow-up attack, 2 light rows, and a skill boost. I feel like it definitely has merits on their own team, but then again, it's like you want to use dupes for the system, so you need to have lots of dupes to make this work. And I just find it difficult to try and make Combo Orb and the Super Follow Attack Awakening work. There are just so few cases where this is actually going to pan out, so I feel like it's quite situational overall. In terms of the active skill itself, if it does overcharge, it can be powerful. It gives you a perfect 15-15 board, which means you're going to have Super Follow Attack and a VDP made with relative ease, and bonus and lots of combos. You get 50% damage reduction, which might be enough to save you from certain mechanics, and say Gil's attack while below 50% can save you there. And then 3 times attack buff. Like, it does a couple of nice stuff, but I feel like their base form is what you want to use at this point in time because there's more value. Finally, for the last key hero, the Owl, whose name I will pronounce wrong every time, has immense personal damage when below 50%. They have 4 attack below 50% and double VDP. So damage cap basically every time you match a VDP when they're below half health. And they can make a system. Once they transform, they have a 3-turn cooldown that gives you 6 Dark Orbs and a 35% damage reduction shield for 1 turn. So you get a bit of extra bulk and orb generation, which has synergy with their leader's skill. Their leader's skill gives you flat 4 times health with dual leaders and a massive 625 times attack multiplier, along with 75% damage reduction if you are below half health. It's that if you're below half health that's problematic. If it didn't matter about being below half health, you'd have huge amounts of effective health. But at the same time, you want to always be below half health because that's where all your damage is located. And your leader skill multiplier procs off of being below half health and 2 dark combos. So it is strong on paper and it does work. And when it was first released, it was one of the best leaders for farming Shura 1. But nowadays, we have many other ways to farm Shura 1 that are easier to play. Like, you need the system to truly shine, but even then, it's kind of awkward because, like, you have to match 2 dark combos, which you have to break up manually. You could 1 combo of Tanjiro, for instance, and just smash your way through with less effort. Pharaoh already has the orbs pre-made with her row, so they can swipe away. Like, I just feel like the Owl is just lacking. And the fact that they have to juggle their health constantly means that they're going to struggle in harder content. Shura 1 and below, they can smash. Really low mechanics dungeons. Dungeons with few mechanics, they do great. When you add in mechanics, it becomes problematic because you have to juggle your health, you have to stay below half health, you need the system ideally. It's just a lot of things you have to incorporate, and it's maybe difficult because system teams have less active skill diversity. So I still think they are a strong leader for Shura 1, but definitely have lost their luster by comparison. For their weapon, it's become one of the best solutions for mono dark farming because they get a skill boost, attack while below 50%, and 2 rows. Just that alone makes it great, but the active skill sets it apart. The active skill cuts your health by 50%, which sets you up if you need to be below half health. You also get the bottom row changed to dark, and then for 2 turns, you bypass damage and color absorb. Wow. So mono dark teams obviously love this weapon, but even non-mono dark teams can greatly take advantage of it because you get the skill boost and this beautiful active skill that cancels damage and color absorb. And the fact that you have a 15-turn cooldown makes it much faster compared to Boar Helmet or the Penguin Menuet weapon, and this attack wall below 50% awakening is deceptively useful because obviously on teams that want to be low health, it's meaningful, but on teams that don't care about being low health, that are playing through difficult content, this is oftentimes going to result in just 2 times personal damage for the owning card, because if you think about it, hard content tends to hit incredibly hard, and that oftentimes will leave you below 50% health on a regular basis. So your owning card is suddenly dealing bonus damage. The main drawback to this weapon is that it obviously is mostly optimal for mono dark teams, and if you compare it to the Boar Helmet and Menuet, it doesn't provide bulk. And the added bulk may be needed to hit key health thresholds or even just more recovery to actually heal back up. So it competes with 2 incredibly strong weapons. I'm not saying it's bad, you just need to be mindful of the fact that bulk oftentimes trumps bonus damage when team building for hard content because surviving is better than doing more damage and dying. Now we come to the Sin Dragons, and I want to highlight just 2 of them. Wrath in particular because they can have 4 or 6 skill boosts, depending on the Super Awakening, or 4 skill boosts with Super Blind Resist. Great flexibility there overall. They also have 2 VDPs, double 7 combos, so nice personal damage. They also have an L Awakening. helpful overall. They also cover fire, which is usually an awkward color, at least at this exact point in time for mono dark teams if you want to tackle Shura 3. Gung Ho Belial will come out soon, which will cover fire, which will make it easier, but at this point in time, Wrath is great. And for myself, I almost always put Wrath on my mono dark teams because it's hard to replicate all the value they bring. Great skill boost or good skill boost with Super Blind, great personal damage, an L unlock, and an active skill that is meaningful. The active skill provides you with a full bind and awoken bind clear, and 3 turns of 3 times attack for fire and dark. Now, the fact that they don't remove unmatchable status is what is their largest downfall, because many things need you to many current endgame dungeons want you to remove unmatchable. So being unable to do so hurts, and you oftentimes will have to run another cleric type active skill alongside of Wrath, which I feel is a little problematic because it's like, well, you want them to do everything. Like, if the attack buff was instead unmatchable clear and possibly lowering the cooldown, this would have been a much stronger card overall, in my opinion. But hey, the 3 times attack buff is still meaningful overall. Like, Odin Dragon in Shura 2 gets heavily countered by this active skill because you clear the binds and clear the awoken binds he gives, massive attack buff to override the attack debuff, probably can one-shot it. Point of the matter is, I think Wrath is a great sub, and I use it basically on any of my mono dark teams, and even my mono fire teams back in the day, but now I have better options. And then finally, we come to Greed. And Greed is a greedy individual because they have 3 dungeon bonus awakenings. There are only 2 cards in North America that provide this, the other being Christmas Saline, which is, well, just rare as well. So, dungeon bonus awakenings enable players who go through solo mode to increase the drop rate of an egg appearing, and as well as bolstering the rank experience and the coins dropped as well. So this obviously only has value in solo mode, but it has most applications if you want to get like more coins, more rank experience, but most notably for acquiring event medals when you're playing in solo mode. The idea is you play in solo mode and you play on the intermediate or usually the lowest difficulty that is, and then you can button your way through the dungeon, but because of the dungeon bonus awakenings and you lead with someone like Varroa, you are able to greatly increase the chance of a drop occurring while saving stamina and buttoning your way through the dungeon. So you're going fast, it's mindless, save stamina, you get lots of drops. It's a great setup overall, works best especially if you don't have an alt account, and that's really just the main appeal of Greed, but the fact that no one else, well, only one other card can replicate what Greed does means they're quite valuable. The other drawback is, well, it only obviously works in solo mode. They have only 2 skill boosts, and their 14 turn cooldown is kind of long. It makes it a little difficult to inherit something over top, such as a button. So, in conclusion, the Sin Dragon Key Heroes event does feature wonderfully powerful cards at the top rarity, but sadly, the top rarity only exists at an incredibly low rolling odds. Like, yes, you want to acquire these 6, 7-star cards and a couple of 6-star cards, but the chances of that happening are terribly low, and you're most often going to roll a duplicate Pantheon card you already have like many copies of in their lowest form, which you're never going to use, or some excessive like 5-star Sin Dragons, which have really just lost most of their value. But with that being said, we get a bunch of free rolls, and I look forward to doing my free rolls later on in my stream, but hopefully this video provides you some insight as to what you can expect from the Sin Dragon Key Heroes event. Let me know if you still like these kind of shorter, well, I guess medium-length formats now. It does hurt my wrist. I'm still trying to find the best workaround for this overall. But with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.